Welcome to Atlanta, jacking hammers and bows. Back to the mackin' and jacking the clothes. Adolescents packing the foes.
And welcome everybody back to another Atlanta Falcons episode on the All Around Atlanta Sports Podcast, or Atlanta Teen Sports Center, whatever you prefer to call us. I'm Blake Newsom, your host, joined with my co-host Connor Quinn and Matthew Tyndall. How are you guys doing today?
We're doing good. How are you?
All right, let's just jump on into the Falcons news. What's breaking yesterday that the Falcons were able to reach out with Desmond Trufant in his comeback season from his injuries and signed him to a 5-year contract extension for, I believe, like $67 million. So, Matthew, what are your thoughts on this contract extension?
I think that we may have overpaid him just a little bit because he's injury prone, and being injury prone is very bad if you're going to pay someone that amount of money. But the good side of it, if he does stay healthy, then he is worth that money.
And Connor, what are your thoughts?
I agree with Matthew. Because if you overpaid him and he gets injured, most of the time you still get paid even when you're injured. And that's just a lot too much of a salary to pay someone who's injured when they're not really doing anything, and it could take them a while to recover and come back to the playing field.
And basically, you guys pretty much covered it, but you got to think about it. I mean, with his Jalen Collins did a good job filling in for him, but I think Robert Alford probably needs some more help out there other than Jalen Collins. I mean, Jalen Collins, they're saying he can convert to safety, then you're able to move Robert Alford to nickelback.
There's been some talks that the Falcons are trying to get Richard Sherman, which I don't think will happen.
That brings up my next topic, saying if you move Robert Alford to nickelback and then you convert Collins to safety, then you move Brian Poole somewhere, and you try to trade for Richard Sherman, and you get him. All of a sudden, you have a bunch of depth at cornerback, and you're
immediately a Super Bowl contender if you get Richard Sherman.
And Connor, what are your thoughts on should the Falcons pull the trigger?
Yeah,
because he's worth like a lot of money. So, and we're like one of the bottom teams as far as cap space. So I don't think it would really be a good decision to go after him, because then we wouldn't be able to really sign any rookies.
And that's definitely true. I mean, he has a big cap hit on the Big Four over in Seattle. I mean, and what they even want to do deals with us, as metaphorically, they're chasing us in the win column and in the race right now. It seems like, as the Falcons have overtaken some pretty good teams over in power the last few years. So would you even think they'd want to pull a trigger on a deal with us with a key player like that and send him just to us? Connor, what are your thoughts?
Well, I've heard in the last show we did, I think you might have mentioned it, that they're thinking about giving the Seahawks their third and fourth round pick just to get Richard Sherman. I think that's a really good decision. But I also think if they don't want to do that, then they're going to try to probably get a few of our star players. Like, they might try to go after, and I don't want to scare Atlanta fans by saying this, they might try to get Julio Jones somehow, and some other players like Devontae Freeman. So we got to watch out. They might want to try to get players like that to give us Richard Sherman.
And what do you think that they would want to flip Julio Jones and Richard Sherman? I mean, Richard Sherman and Julio Jones would definitely be an interesting locker room duo. I mean, they wouldn't be enemies anymore, but that would definitely be an interesting duo. And how do you think that he would be able to fit in with the quote-unquote brotherhood? Connor, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think he would fit in really well. When the Hawks signed Dwight Howard and all these new players, it seems like they fit in well with like kind of the rhythm of the Atlanta Hawks family. But it might take him a little bit to kind of get used to the new thing. But I think he'll fit in just well, and hopefully he'll play just as well as he did in Seattle.
And Matthew, what are your thoughts?
Well, Dan Quinn was the defensive coordinator for Seattle when Richard Sherman was there. So if somehow in some way we could get Richard Sherman without giving away any of our star players, then that would be amazing for us in our secondary, because Dan Quinn knows how to work with Richard Sherman, and he could somehow fit him into our scheme.
Moving on to the Atlanta Falcons football schedule for this year. Don't know. We're just gonna go through some of these games. I don't know if they're completely in order, but what do you think is the most intriguing matchup up there on the schedule for this year, Connor?
Well, of course, they play the NFC East or NFC North, I think it is, with the Patriots, and they have to face them again, which they did in Super Bowl 51. I think that'll be it's also up in New England because last time they played the game in Atlanta, it was on a Sunday night game. I remember a few years ago, and Tom Brady was there. Play this, and the fans we probably kind of mocking the Falcons, say, "Oh, you blew a 28-3 lead," and all that kind of stuff. But I think the Braves will be ready. I mean, not the Braves, the Falcons. The Falcons will be ready to play that night or the day, wherever. I don't know what time it is in the game.
And as long as it's not week 1, I just don't want to. I don't feel comfortable having to play same team that knocked us our hopes from a championship team, being a championship in Atlanta, away right again in a back-to-back scenario from Super Bowl 51 back to the first week of the regular season. Connor, what are your thoughts on that?
What was the question again? I'm sorry.
What are your thoughts on how Atlanta fans would want to play the Patriots in week 1 or not?
Well, I think part of it might be like, oh, how about we just get this over with and face Tom Brady again? Like, but even if the Falcons were to lose that game in the playoff fashion, they would be kind of mocking the Falcons a little bit more, which is the problem with that. But I think the NFL when the team plays in another team and it happens to be in the division the next year, or the division, like the opposite conference division that they play after the Super Bowl, and they try to make it week 1, like the first game, which is on Thursday night on NBC. They try to make it more interesting. It'll attract more fans to watch it in the opening of the NFL season. So I don't know if Roger Goodell is gonna arrange that or not. We'll have to wait and see.
And breaking news from the Hawks after the end of the first quarter, Cleveland leads the Hawks by a score of 38-21. Kyrie Irving with 15 points in the first quarter. So, Matthew, what do you think the Hawks could do to turn around playing LeBron right now?
See, I'm not too knowing of basketball, but I'd say what we did. Was it last night that we played them, or 2 nights ago?
Yeah, it was the other night.
2 nights ago. Friday night.
Just play consistent, play with your head in the game, and then you should be able to overcome the thought of Kyrie and LeBron on the team, and then just play good.
Moving back to the Falcons, or Carolina in general, do you think Carolina will be in a race again for the division, or do you think they'll be just as bad as last year, or do you think they will be improved or be a more improved team and want to play harder? Matthew, what are your thoughts?
Everybody thought last year that Carolina was going to be another great team, but to be honest, they will improve just a little bit with the draft, but not too much because they rely on Cam Newton too much, and then with their head coach Ron Rivera, his thoughts about leaving, which happened long ago, but it's still in his mind, I bet. But just wanted to get the year finished, and I don't really think they're going to do all that well for this year.
And Connor, do you agree?
Yeah, I agree with what Matthew said about how they rely too much on Cam Newton sometimes, and he gets too much pressure with the ball and sometimes gets sacked or fumbles or whatever. And getting back to what Matthew said about how they might improve on the draft, but it was kind of surprising to everyone that they didn't get back to the Super Bowl or back in the playoff run as they did the past season before this season, and everyone thinks that what happened? Was that just a fluke? I don't know. I don't want to be rude to any Carolina fans because I know we're rivals of them, but it could have been a little bit of a fluke because it's the injuries or depends on the teams who they were playing, they had their number or they just play well against them, or I don't know. What do you guys think?
Moving on to, you pretty much covered it. But moving on to another division team, do you think the Saints will still give us trouble in these upcoming years like they have in the past? Or do you think they're starting to fade away from their graphs of giving us an L? Matthew?
Well, I think it's just the Falcons are improving too much for the Saints, and I believe that the Falcons. I believe the Saints just can't really stop the Falcons' run and pass and their high-scoring offense. I don't think that they'll match up with that.
And Matthew, do you agree?
Well, the thing is that they lost their best receiver, Brandon Cooks, to the Patriots, and then they did grab their 32nd pick, but it still is. They may grab a receiver with one of those 2 picks in the first round, but I just don't think that they're going to produce like everybody thinks they might.
Do you think Malcolm Butler will fit in with their offense at all? I mean, defense? Ugh. Hello?
Probably so, because people say he's a really good corner, but to me, he's all right. He's good enough to the point where he can fit in with really almost any team's defense, but he's still going to be playing pretty consistent. So.
And Connor, what do you think is another intriguing matchup for the Falcons at home this year? Because we got a road game. What do you think is the most intriguing home game?
One of our most intriguing home games. I'm pulling up the schedule right now, so I'm trying to find it. Give me one
Matthew,
second.
do you want to go ahead and say yours?
Yeah.
I said Dallas.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that in a way, but I'm trying to do something.
And why do you say Dallas?
Because they have one of the best offensive lines in football history. They have Ezekiel Elliott, he's a really good running back, and Dak Prescott at quarterback. And they've also got Dez Bryant, and then they have a up-and-coming defense, so that's pretty intriguing, but I still think that we can maybe take them over with the home field advantage in our new stadium.
I have my thing pulled up, and this might sound crazy, but I think the hardest matchup at home would be the Minnesota Vikings because I'm assuming Adrian Peterson will be back and helping. The way they started last season was on a great note, and everyone they were top of the NFL for a while there at the beginning of this past year, and I think they'll get back to the winning ways at the beginning. They have not picked a date for the game yet, but it will be a home game in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And I think that will be one of the hardest home games this season to face the Minnesota Vikings.
But isn't Adrian Peterson still a free agent, though?
I think he is. I think the Vikings will re-sign him.
I mean, that's hard to say, but I mean, Teddy, hopefully they have a little bit of trouble at quarterback position right now with 2 quarterbacks out there. Teddy Bridgewater and what was the other ones? He came from Sam what?
Bradford.
Yeah, Sam Bradford. And
Even if Adrian Peterson does retire, I think, or has he retired yet? Has there been any word on that?
No.
So
it's rumored that he will be.
Yeah.
Yeah, even if he does, I think the Minnesota Vikings are like Teddy Bridgewater as quarterback, and they have some other good great receivers. I think it'll just be a really tough test for the Falcons to face. And
then you also have out there McKinnon, who's a very good backup for Adrian Peterson. Has a lot of off days, which is what you don't want to see from a backup running back. But when he has a good day, it seems like, and he's an Atlanta native, so. It'll be interesting to see how he deals because he is 2-0 against us in his career. So, do you guys have any other thoughts to pull up?
I don't really have anything else to say.
Nope.
Well, because I guess we've pretty much run out of topics, guys. Thank you guys for listening. You're listening to
Before we wrap this up, I have an update about the Braves game. The Braves lead 4-3, and that's the end of the 8th inning, so we'll go to the top of the 9th, and Dansby Swanson, Freddie Freeman, and Donis Garcia are due up for the Braves. You may continue.
So yeah, you guys heard that there. Braves lead 4-3 late in the game. I'm just going to say thank you guys for listening. You're listening to the Atlanta Teen Sports Center or other Atlanta Sports Podcast, whatever you prefer to call us. So thank you guys for listening again. Rise up and the brotherhood. We'll see you next time. Go A-Town.